Did Bugs Bunny have it right? Is Nimrod a pejorative word? Let's see what it says. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. Let's look at two Hebrew words that are translated in English as began and mighty. First, let's look at kolal, began. Well, it means to profane. It means to prostitute, slay, stain, wound. The opposite of kolal is halal, which means to praise God. So the opposite of praising God is to profane him. Well, how could profaning God be translated as began? Let's look at the law of first mention, which is the first occurrence which reveals the fundamental or inherent meaning of that word or doctrine. The first occurrence is where Adam's grandson, Enosh, begins to profane the name of God, where here we have, after the flood, Noah's great-grandson, Nimrod, beginning to profane God. So Nimrod began to profane God and was a tyrant giant on the earth. This Hebrew word, Gabor, is translated in English as mighty, when in fact, Nimrod was a tyrant giant. Had he been mighty, the word would be Geber, not Gabor. We learned that there were tyrant giants in the earth before the flood and after the flood, where before the flood they were called Nephil or Nephilim, and after the flood they're called Gabor. The Nephil who lived before the flood were men of renown, and they're all listed here on the Sumerian kings list. This cuneiform lists the kings and the men of renown before the flood and also after the flood. Just like Gilgamesh, Nimrod was a man of renown, a tyrant giant who lived after the flood. Nimrod's mountain is precisely where you would expect as they journeyed from the east. Many confuse the location of Babel, where Babel means confusion, and Babylon means the gate of gods. Nimrod's mountain is located in Turkey, where Turkey is the cradle of civilization. Here we see the biblical locations that we read about. However, became Urfa, became Sanla Urfa. So when we see Sanla Urfa, we're actually seeing of the Chaldees. Göbekli Tepe, or Potbelly Hill, predates the caveman, where without a biblical perspective, this wouldn't make sense. This region in Turkey is where Nimrod was the first world leader after the flood, where his kingdom had about 5,000 people before they were scattered. Nimrod had 5 brothers and 2 nephews that were made into great nations, where Esau and Nimrod had a lot in common. There's enough evidence to suggest that neither Nimrod or Esau had favor with God, and that Looney Tunes has it right, where Nimrod is truly a pejorative term.